Welcome, folks, to the second episode. We're here at Sun Square. Probably one of the best views I've seen in a while shooting the podcast. But I'm joined by an Irish superstar who was playing forward and now is playing back. And I'm joined for the second episode with Gregory Williams. So nice to have you on, Butts and Ball. Thanks for your time. I know you are very busy at the moment, but yeah, we start with the family. How's everyone back home? How has the move been coming from South Africa back to Ireland, and obviously leaving a lot back in South Africa to go and pursue a dream? But yeah, how's the family? How's everything? How's that transition been?
Oh yeah, the family's doing great. The move's actually been quite smooth. Obviously, it's a bit bumpy every now and then, but for the most part, it's actually been pretty smooth. You know, Hockey Island, it's quite an easy move going and joining into a setup. Everything's kind of professional, and the way they do things is, I highly recommend and congratulate the way they do things. And yeah, the family's doing well. I'm doing well. And then yeah, the move's been great. No regrets. Just leaving a couple of friends behind and all that is obviously difficult. But you obviously make new ones and meet new people. So yeah, it's been smooth.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the sort of things you have to leave behind when you're going and pursuing a dream. Obviously, your family is there, which makes it easier. I think it would have been a bit more tough if you were going alone with you and your brother. But yeah, so you're studying, are you doing online, or how does that work?
No, I go to college in Dublin.
Okay.
And yeah, yes, normal college. They take very good care of me though. So when I have trips like this or anything, they tend to be very lenient with how much college I need to go to and all that. So it just allows me, when I'm on the trips, that I can fully be present and focused on the trips, which is a great help. I couldn't do it without their help either. So it's great to have a college supporting you like that.
Yeah, and then so if you, like, for instance, now in South Africa, do you have like online class, or how does that normally work?
No. So normally when I go away or whatever, it is the summer break now, but normally, like let's say in December when I had the 21s World Cup, I would go away and I had a couple of exams and projects and all that, and they get that moved and extensions, etc. They're very good, so there's no stress. I never really had any stress when I came back either. Like, I had a lot of work to do. They plan it out nicely, and the lectures are great, so it's handy enough.
Yeah, that's nice. And for all the viewers, where in Ireland is the club based? Where are you guys based in Ireland?
So I live in Dublin, and I played there now the past year. I'm moving though. I've just left a club called Corinthians. They took me in like family, and forever grateful for them. But it's time for my next step.
Yeah.
But yeah, they brought me in to live in Dublin with the family, go to college in Dublin. And yeah, so Dublin's where I'm from.
Yeah, so that's sort of the family side, the moving, the transition. If we move back into the sporting side of things, the hockey journey, I know you've always loved hockey, mad family, you and your brother and your parents as well. But the progression that you've made has been something to behold. I mean, in school, you were decent, you were good. But then when you went over to Ireland, it's like a different beast now.
Yeah. Look, in school, I probably wasn't in the best physical shape I should have been in. Would be one of the reasons I could think of. And then when I went over to Ireland for the first year I was over there, I trained like I wasn't going to live another year. And I worked hard to get to where I wanted to be, because I knew that that's what I wanted to do. So when I decided to go to Ireland, I was like, okay, cool, this is my start that I want, and this is what I want to do. So I kind of just decided I'm going to grab this, and I'm not going to let anyone get in the way of that, especially the thoughts and people back home that, you know, have obviously had an idea of me. Obviously, it motivates you all the time. But yeah, Dublin and Ireland is now my new home kind of thing, and they took me in nicely. So also to have people in Ireland like that rate you, and people backing you, and a family like mine, like my mom and dad, have done countless things for me. It just, to have a support system behind you helps a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, no, support system is number one, I think. You know, family, faith is my two big pillars that I also live by. But yeah, I must say, like, you can see like the flicks are coming in handy when they needed to from Gregory Williams. But talk us through the journey, as in when you went to Corinthians and you said, okay, listen, this is what I want to do. You know, this is my dream. to
Yeah.
play international hockey. It's a higher stage. How was that transition, and how was it when you got the phone call to say, listen, you've now made the squad?
Yeah, so when I actually first moved to Ireland, I wasn't at Corinthians first. I was in a club called Waterford. It's a club in Munster, which is pretty south. So they took me in, and they parted the way there because I wouldn't have been ready for Corinthians when I first moved over to Ireland. So I had this little pathway, and then so I went from Waterford then into Corinthians, and then in Corinthians, once I got to Corinthians, then the international thing became a bigger idea to me. When I was still in Waterford, I was like, how can I make the next step into the top league in Ireland?
Yeah.
And then once I made the step to the top league, I was like, okay, I want to go play internationally now. And in Corinthians, there were a couple of people that already have caps, so they kind of tell you what the expectations are that you need to have on yourself, also not being too hard at the same time.
Yeah.
And then Corinthians, the coach also is my number one fan since I joined. So having a coach behind you that backs you, knows your abilities, when the game comes on a Saturday, you just play at a completely different level. So then I went to Corinthians and started playing some of the best hockey I've played in my life. And then I only joined the Irish setup in the beginning of 2025, and I got the first call for my cap at the end of Jan, I'd say. And yeah, it was an unreal experience. I got the call, wasn't expecting it at all, that I was going to go to the Pro League, and went and played India for my first cap in India, packed stadium and all that. But the phone call was unreal. The head coach phoned me, which he's always been very good at, is communicating with players, which I think is a big attribute for a coach to have. And yeah, he gave me the call and was like, we're taking a 22-man squad to India, and we think you can have an impact, so we want to bring you with. And I was like, I'll happily come along.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of how it happened.
And tell us that first game, what was going through your head when you made your international men's debut against India. Talk us through that, and what did you gain from that? What could you take from there into how you've done in the under 21 setup and into the indoor setup?
Yeah, so the first cap was unreal. It was in Indian stadium. Like the noise was unbearable. You couldn't think for yourself at all. It wasn't my best game by any means. Like I like to say, I wouldn't say I wasn't ready, but the step up is absolutely massive. So that was the big culture shock there of the expectations you need to have and how much further and harder you need to work, which just gave me even more feel for the next year ahead. And yeah, so it was unreal. Like the nerves obviously kick in the second you get to the stadium on the first day, even with a training, you're like, this is going to be a packed stadium. So you need to be able to adjust as quick as you can. But yeah, the first trip, to get the first cap under my belt was amazing. It's a life goal that I had ever since a kid, and thinking it was possible as a kid, I didn't think it was possible. But yeah, when it actually happened, you're like, as a kid, this was my dream, and for it to come true is absolutely unreal.
Yeah, I mean, Callum always speaks about nervous bathroom breaks as well before games. I know it creeps into all forms of hockey, but that must have been, I mean, I know India is also obviously their cricket is number one, but hockey is quite there as well.
Yeah.
Packed stadiums, 100,000 people shouting. Yeah, you probably can't even hear yourself or speak to other mates. And from there, we're going into the under 21 setup. So obviously, for the viewers that don't know, so Gregory was back then when he played in 2025 last year, he was able to qualify for under 21. And then from there, he went, because he was good enough to play men's, they brought him into under 21 setup for the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And let's talk us through that whole journey, 6 weeks in India, Oaks getting belly stomachs and you can't drink the water. And how was that whole experience? I mean, it was 6 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, in India.
Yeah, close to that. Yeah,
6
I'd say
weeks.
so, yeah.
Because I spoke to Uzziah when he came back at the indoor nationals at the end of the year in December, and he said it was this experience. So take us through those 6 weeks. Take us through those 6 weeks.
So yeah, 21s is a weird one for me because when I first came to Ireland in 2024, I was obviously still on 21 in my second year 21s, and didn't make the 21 squad actually. And then 6 months later, got called up into the men's team after not making 21s team, which it was unreal to me because I was like, how have I not been? How have I not made 21s and then make that team? And then when I got the call up, was obviously unreal.
Yeah.
So then to go back after playing men's to then go back and play my 21s for the first time, obviously after skipping that whole step, was unreal to go back into a team what had such connection. So when we went to India, we had a very young squad, like ridiculously young. I could be wrong, but it was 7 schoolboys, I think, maybe even 8.
Wow. For those viewers, is that 18-year-olds?
That's 16, 17 and 18-year-olds.
Oh my word, in under 20. Oh yeah. Yes, that's proper.
So when my brother, who's 2 years younger than me, was one of the senior players in the team, it was a big shock. So when the team first comes out, you're like, wow, the team's young, how are you going to get along? But then, I mean, from the minute that squad got released until the end of India, and now even to this day, some of the young guns, like, wow, the boys can play, first of all, and second of all, like, you become best mates with all of them. You go to India, you go into the trenches with them, and to have a team that was closely bonded, no matter whether we lost to Germany or lost to South Africa in the first game we played them, to go and then have a big results against other teams.
And also to beat South Africa as well.
Yeah, to have that close-knitted squad is just surreal. Like, you don't get that many places. So yeah, to go with a squad that's all your best mates is it helps the experience a lot. So even when it is a hard time, you know, you got your mates around you, which makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
And on that trip, no one hated anyone. There is none of this little stuff in your ear that I remember a lot of teams having back here anyways. And to go to a culture where there's none of that and everyone gets along, it's a much healthier and an environment I like being a part of.
Yeah, I must say, it's so true what you said. Being a senior in terms of your age compared to, like, as you said, the 16, 17, 18-year-olds, and those youngsters, plus your brother that you got to play with, stepped up big time. And it also made your job easier when it came to penalty corner execution time, when it was your time, you know. But to be able to, you know, to get a connection with a youngster, sometimes it's difficult because personalities sometimes can clash. You know, 16-year-old, sometimes they think they're all that, and you now older, you've had men's experience. So now to try and bond with it can sometimes really be a tough one.
Yeah.
But tell us, on your off days in India, what was something that you guys did, or some of the memories that you'll take?
So we have this card game that we play. We play it a lot here, especially. So when I went to India, I learned it for the first time. It's a card game called Toop. That we played every day whenever we had off time, because obviously there's not much to do outside of in the India hotel. So we play this card game, and I mean, wow, it gets competitive. It was unreal. You get the youngsters involved, and yeah, it's just actually unreal that this card game is like you can play it for 3 hours and no one gets bored, and it's a memory of mine that's definitely stayed with me for a while.
And did you guys go like out and about sightseeing and all that stuff when you were there for 6 weeks? I mean, it's a long time.
Yeah, we were there for a long time. We went to some temple place. I couldn't tell you the name now. So we went to some temple place. That was pretty cool, I guess. It's a shame the Indian tour guides gave us a nice tour around, and it was very wholesome of them. So yeah, muchly appreciate that.
And how was the weather?
The weather was warm and humid. Yeah, luckily it was winter. Obviously, so it was a little bit better, but it's a lot warmer than Irish weather. I can tell you that much.
Especially if you in Ireland in December.
Yeah,
it's freezing cold. Yeah. The Europe in general. Now it's the time to go, folks. If you want to go now, you want to go travel to Europe. Now's the time, because it is going to be warmer and it's very nice to go in summer.
Yeah.
But how much curry did you eat in that Indian tour?
See, I've never been the greatest fan of curry now either, to be honest. So, I mean, I try to avoid it as much as I could. But when you're eating curry for breakfast and it's on the breakfast tray, you kind of debate your choices again. So I ate a lot of fruit. I ate a lot of fruit and a lot of bread. And I tried the curry at least.
And hot?
Yeah. I'm not good with spicy food at all. So.
Makes your stomach run a bit.
No, not my stomach. My throat dies terrible. But yeah, so I tried my best. But no, the food was very lovely for the split second before the spice kicked in.
Yeah.
But after that spice kicked in, there was no more there's no more enjoyment. It was more that I have to eat here, otherwise I'm not going to survive.
More of a suffering.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's obviously off game day. But on game day, I mean, I was watching your guys' game because obviously South Africa was in the same pool as yours. To go down to Germany and South Africa, I think it was a close one. The first game against South Africa, I think it was 2-0, 2-1, very close game. And then to go and have a lot of really good results, and that South African game was one of the best I've seen in terms of like how you guys played, and obviously you scored a hat-trick as well in that game. And tell me how much have you worked on your drag flicking, because when you were in South Africa you didn't really have a chance to do drag flicking, and now it's one of your threats. I mean, people, when you get in the D, like, okay, Greg Williams is on the top of the castle, youngster, but he's at the top of the castle, and you have all these amazing drag flickers around the world. You have Charlet from France, who's been really well in this tournament as well, and obviously Jep Janssen. So what was that whole, like, that game, if you can go back to that game against South Africa, it was a really good game, and from your perspective, it was one of the best I've seen.
Yeah, so flicking wise, it's more about how many times you can flick a ball. I've flicked, I don't know how many balls since I've got to Ireland. And then flicking's also about the people around you backing you. Is a big thing for me, is if your team backs you and they're like, we want to win a corner because it's probably going to go in, it's probably going to go in. Especially when you got pace behind it, I'd say. And yeah, in that game, you know, we do a lot of video on keepers and runners and all of that stuff. Too much video sometimes that you dream about it sometimes. And but yeah, so I kind of knew the keepers I was going up against in the game, and you know, you can kind of find weaknesses, especially at 21s level. It's a bit easier to find than at the men's, like this Nations Cup tournament. But you still always find something. Because they have to pick a side or how they run or something like that. So you can you can nitpick a little bit. And then that's kind of what I did, and I just kind of tried to expose what I found in the keepers I was going up against. And in that game specifically, the research that we did with Nev, the coach, and us in the video and everything that we looked at, it just obviously worked and we were right. Sometimes you can get the analysis wrong, but in that game we got it right, and then the execution, I got it where I wanted to put it too, which helped.
Yeah, and folks, for those who don't know, if you are viewing and your first time on and Boots and Ball, the keepers in those games, if we just put into context now, Daniel Dillon and that's Kuman. So Daniel Dillon is a proper keeper. Let's not fault that. He's an amazing keeper. He's Daniel Dillon, SA player as well. He's gone through the ranks, Marty's first for I don't know how many years. So just to put into context, it's a job well done, and like you said, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it paid off. Before I'm flicking, like you say, I obviously, once I've left SA Hockey, I haven't stayed too much in the loop, so you know, I didn't see a name when I was flicking at a keeper. I try picture where their weaknesses come in, kind of thing. I just kind of grab their weakness, and that's what I see before a game, and I try and ambush that rather than looking at who they are or their achievements. But I just think it's just about executing it, and if you can flick it hard kind of thing. And talk us through the impact that coaching. We're going to move more to the execution part of the game. When you talk about coaching, I've heard that the coaching in Ireland has been really good. And for your development and your growth, it is Neville Rothman, how has him and the coaching staff like contributed to your game in general?
So Neville was the 21s head coach, and now he's our men's assistant coach. Well, he's always been the men's assistant coach. He just helped out after the old coach left the 21s. And then Mark Tumulty's the head coach for the men's. Both of them were just unreal. They've helped me from the very start. I came in and I knew exactly what I had to do and the level I had to be at when I want to play. It's unreal the amount they've done. The professionality that they have is next to none. You go into a meeting and you have your notebooks, and you'll leave that meeting knowing almost everything there is to know about the other team. And going into a game with that kind of confidence that you know head to toe about teams is unreal. You just have a different confidence before a game. And I think that's half of it. If you have confidence, you play differently.
Yeah, and how's I'm guessing he's very technical, is Neville. And what is he? He's obviously assistant coach, so that's normally where the technical stuff comes in. But how has he helped you in terms of like your development and let's say where you see yourself and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, he's helped me unreal, you know, especially in India, when we spent probably the most time I spent with him. It's unreal that you can have a coach back you, because that's half the battle. Is at corner time, when I knew that he was backing me, it's a different game when you're at the top there. But if you go to the top of the circle and your coach isn't backing you, you're thinking there, I have to score this, otherwise he's not going to let me flick this one again. So it's a different thing when you know, like, if I miss 3 flicks and my coach is still going to be like, no, I want him flicking the ball. It's a different feeling. When you're at the top of the circle, you're a lot more calm. You can actually execute the plan you want to execute, rather than thinking, okay, if I don't deliver here, I'm not gonna be next in line again. So yeah, just having a coach that backs you, and even outside of flicking, the mental advice he gave us before games, the technical advice is it's unreal. Both him and Tom.
Yeah, so that's the under 21 wrap almost. It was one of the better games I've watched, as I rightly said earlier. Ireland performing, I think, to a standard that you guys will be proud of, happy of as an upcoming nation in hockey, not just under 21, but in general. And what I found so fascinating, and I've said this to a lot of people, and I've said this is why Gregory Williams and Ryan Williams is performing so well, is because every weekend, whether it's you playing the best clubs in the world, if you're going to tour, you play the best countries in and around Europe, and that is what helps with development in terms of being in the Irish men's setup. One weekend you're traveling to Netherlands, one weekend you're traveling to Germany. That is where you get better. You don't get better by playing the weaker nation. So that for me is a must if you want to improve. And that's why I've said why Gregory Williams and Ryan Williams is done so well, is because the competition is there, and you every weekend and week out you're playing the best. I mean, you don't want to play and obviously, okay, then this week you're playing this team and you're like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big, I think, is how you've progressed as a player, is because you're playing the best countries in the world.
Yeah. It helps playing the good countries. It really does. Like, it's unreal. You just get experience that you can't get from a training ground. And just, yeah, you just unlock more and more experience the more games you play. So yeah, that helps too a lot. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so out of outdoor season, so for the viewers, let's tell them, so I'm guessing you guys play all year round?
Yeah.
Hockey, or is there a bit of a break?
Not too much of a break. You'll get a week off there and there, but with the Irish stuff in the summer and the
indoor in the winter.
And then obviously the club season winter with a bit of indoor over the Christmas break. Yeah, you don't get too much time off, but yeah, I don't really mind it, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going into the indoor setup. And how was it playing in your first Nkosi Cup, you know, with your brother? How was that whole experience, and how was that feeling of, listen, I'm actually playing with my brother here, we're going to South Africa, we're playing in the Nkosi Cup, we have a chance to prove ourselves here in the indoor session, in the indoor scene, not outdoor now, indoor. How was that whole experience as well?
So the indoor scene is a bit more tricky with the Irish stuff, as it's more it's obviously a part of Hockey Ireland, but it's not so connected as much as the outdoor, obviously, because it's not big of the fan base, I'd say. So it's a bit more you're on your own kind of thing. So you kind of go there, you get there, and it's just your team, and that's what you're focusing on. It's more kind of self-funded.
Yeah.
Well, it is self-funded. And yeah, so to come to Nkosi Cup was pretty cool. We probably underperformed a bit more than we would have liked, especially individually, I'd say. There were a few good games, a few glimpses and all that, but you know, we in the rebuilding stages of the indoor kind of categories. So it's more preparing for the Euros, where other teams obviously had the World Cup in the January, February time when we came that year. So they were obviously trying to reach their peak when we obviously just refreshed our squad, trying to focus on the Euros for only 2 years after that. So So yeah, it was a tricky experience. You know, you're still learning. There's still every more things to learn from it, especially for newer players. As like in South Africa, you have the PSI system where you grow up playing it, and then on Ireland, most people only start playing it post school.
Yeah.
So your new caps would probably be 24, 25 on the normal cases. At least now they're bringing PSIs in Ireland now, which helps a lot. And we already have 2-3 players coming there that are probably going to be getting capped, I'd assume. Maybe, I don't know the team, but in Cape Town, if they keep progressing at the rate they're doing. Indoor is definitely growing at a rapid pace. You know, we had the Euros there in January, and a few results didn't go away, but we made a statement that, you know, we're fighting for that top 10 nation in the world at indoor, and yeah.
Yeah, and playing with your brother must have been also really special. Obviously, coming from outdoor season, playing with him. But yeah, that must have been, I mean, there's not many brothers that can say they played with each other at the highest level in indoor. And folks, for those who don't know, Inkosi Cup is a indoor tournament in South Africa where it's normally about 6 teams that play. So in the past, it's been New Zealand, Australia, Ireland, and then Zimbabwe and sort of those countries in South Africa. And I mean, you and your brother playing in an Irish setup, playing against some superstars, Mustafa and those players. But if we go out there now, how would you say that the tournament now in the Euros now for the indoor in January, how was that experience?
So that was unreal. You know, it was in Germany, Heidelberg, which is, you know, where indoor hockey was started, and they do it best. There's no beating German indoor hockey. So the crowd was always unreal, and the games and the setup and everything was just absolutely surreal. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it a lot. It was a great experience. It was obviously right before the outdoor World Cup qualifiers, so luckily the timing was just right so that I was allowed to go to it. But yeah, it was an unreal experience. You know, like I said, a few results didn't go away as much as I would have liked. But yeah, to play in the Euros indoors is unreal. Like, not many countries, obviously, the ones outside Europe don't get that opportunity. And to play in the Euros it's truly unreal. You truly like it. I loved it. So yeah, so pushing to get back up into the next year. Yeah.
So just off of hockey, almost before we sort of close out, what does a training day look like for Gregory Williams? If you're speaking, whether it's club level, international level, whatever, for the viewers that maybe want to progress, what does your typical training day look like?
So training day, it's probably pretty straightforward. It's just, as long as you're eating well throughout the day, so you normally wake up and you have a good breakfast, as we've got a good dietitian that helps us through everything. So you know what to eat and when. So as long as I'm eating a good breakfast and getting water throughout the day would be the normal thing. Is my big focus is as long as I'm eating at the crucial times, and then just training at nights, whether that's a training or a gym. We tend to do it Monday to Thursday, Friday off, Saturday you would have your game, then Sunday or national training would be one of the busy weeks. So you would have like the Monday, you would have your regional training, which is all the Dublin, the Leinster crew. And then you would train, and then you would have the Leinster gym, Leinster training, Leinster gym, Friday off and play your club game. And then Sunday you would have the national session where the whole Irish team comes together and trains. So that's what a typical kind of week looks like. Not too specific in the day, just as long as you're keeping your body healthy and not, would be my main thing.
I must say, eating is probably the main thing.
Yeah.
Can't eat rubbish before game, because you'll find out third chukka you're going to be very tired. So as you said, the dieting is important. What type of carbs you need to take in, what type of proteins.
Yeah.
And if you have someone like that that's quality, it really helps, especially with your performance right through the game, because as we know, FIH level is proper level, whereas Nations Cup, the fitness levels are going to go high, tempo is high. And then we're going to switch it now, completely opposite. What does an off day for Gregory Williams look like? I know you enjoy lying in bed,
Yeah.
taking it a chill day, if I can say it like that. But what does your typical off day look like? For instance, today, when you guys are going to play South Africa tomorrow, what does that look like?
So we normally tend to have breakfast same time at like 9:30 is the normal time we would have it. So you'd go for your breakfast at 9:30. Then we go to find a coffee shop, go chill for a coffee shop. We play this little this game called Football Tenable on the app where you need to get the random questions. So we play it as a team anyways. I'm terrible at it. I don't know, I have the biggest FIFA football IQ, but the other lads have a big IQ in that department. So yeah, we play that. I attempt to help, but normally don't help. If anything, I give them wrong answers. But yeah, so we do that. Then we would tend to come back to the hotel, either do a yoga or a gym session. So today we did a gym, and then we would have our meeting, which is a post game meeting from. We played France 2 days ago, so we would have gone over that. Any clips from that? Anything went well? Anything went wrong? Then we'd tend to have the afternoon off, because then once you get the afternoon off, you can kind of get to yourself. You can do what you want to do, kind of vibe. And then for dinner, we would have dinner at like 8 o'clock, I'd say. And then get to bed early and just relax.
So what is, as Irish set up now, what does success look for you guys in the FIH Nations Cup? What is your guys' goal for this tournament?
To win. We want to win. We always want to win. We are missing. We're not
Fully stacked.
We're not. Yeah, we're always not fully stacked. Sorry, but I mean we're not oblivious to the fact that we don't have a whole team. We're missing quite a few crucial players, but the depth we have is still unreal, and it doesn't change our goals and what improving towards the World Cup. Yeah. Obviously, the biggest one is World Cup's obviously a bit more important than the Nations Cup. So obviously our objective is still to win. When do you not want to win?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be our number one, and then make decisions if we are able to make them later on.
And World Cup is coming later on. It's almost same question, but for that sort of tournament, you are in the same pool as South African men's. I think Spain and I think it's India, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check the pools. But what would success be for Ireland hockey in the World Cup?
We'll make it through the pool is probably the objective one. Yep. We will have a team meeting after the Nations Cup. I'd like to go tournament by tournament, so we'll probably have a Nations Cup and a meeting after the Nations Cup and set down and write our objectives. So we haven't done that just yet, but I mean the boys want to win.
Yeah.
Like we're top 9 nation in the world, the highest ranked in the Nations Cup, and we want to keep that first of all. And then when we go to the World Cup, set a tone of why we're pushing for the top 8. Exactly. So yeah, that's the most obvious one that would come up, I'd say. Oh yeah, we haven't sat down and done all the objectives yet. So
obviously every team wants to win, and you always as a player, you always think, why not? If you believe you have the caliber of players, you can get it done.
Yeah.
And then if we're going to isolate you now from the team now, what does long-term goals for you in your career? You've had a decent amount of caps indoor and outdoor. What's your goals for future and for Irish hockey in general?
So the goal for Irish hockey is the most recent one I can think of is first of all qualify for the Olympics, because it's obviously a lot harder for a Europe team to qualify for the Olympics, especially of like Ireland, especially the position we're in, because you don't have the AFCON and the Continental or the Euros. So when we play the Euros, it's high caliber teams we're playing against. Not that the AFCON and them aren't, but you're playing the top 4 nations in the world or whatever. So it's obviously a lot harder to win that. So the goal is to qualify for Olympics, help them do it, and then obviously try and make the Olympic squad if we do that. Perform at the World Cup is the main thing. If we perform, the results come after that. Yeah. And then club-wise, I'm going overseas next year and really make a statement of the type of player I am, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the goals that are on the top of my head at the moment. Don't like to think too far ahead. I like to go week by week. Yeah,
stay in the present.
Yeah, and just keep improving each week would be my main goal.
So, folks, Greg has signed in Germany. He's leaving Corinthians after a good stint there, performed really well. And not cliche, but they say performance back week by week brings results, brings what you want in a career, and obviously another club has seen you and you performing at the world stage. And how was that signing? How are you feeling? How is the family? It must be buzzing for you. How are you feeling when you got the signing, when you got the call, say, listen, you're going to play proper hockey. You're going to play in the German league, which is some of the best in the world, if not the best, that and the Dutch league, the Hoofdklasse. So take us through that whole thing.
So yeah, it's unreal experience. We played TSV Mannheim in a warm-up game for the Irish Indoor Euros. That's when I first saw the coach, didn't meet him then, at least at that point. I mean, and then met him at the Euros itself. And then after that, a few clubs were interested in all that, but he was the one coach that stood out to me of like, we want you, we want to make this happen now. And he made everything happen within a week, got the contract out and everything. And then I'm going with one of my good mates, Louis, who's also in the Irish setup. They offered us both a contract. And we were like, you know what? Yeah, this is the club for us. They want us here. They're playing in good form at the moment. And it's a club that wants to do well. And that's the number one prize. And we were like, yeah, let's go and take this opportunity.
And how are you feeling? You must be buzzing, must be excited. And how long are you planning? Or obviously, it depends if they extend your contract. But at this present time, is it a year, 2 years, 3 years?
It's 1 year. It's normally 1 year when you first sign your first one for a club.
And then after that,
you readjust in the next year. Yeah.
So when will you be going to?
I'll go on just after the World Cup, I'd say in September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from September to September, or
September until May. Yeah. And then
because the years are different.
Yeah. Because that would be our kind of year.
Okay. Yeah. And then that's exciting. I mean, I saw it and I was like, yes, this man's he's gonna go. And you're gonna, obviously, it's so nice. You know, you got a year not to prove yourself because you know what you're capable of, but to go there and you want to perform in the best league in the world. You want to go there and be like, I'm going to take it with full horns. I'm going to give it my everything.
Yeah.
And the chance of them re-signing you is quite likely if you perform week in and week out.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And then we're just going to do, so before we close off here, folks, we're going to do a bit of quick fire questions. So who is like the person with the best style in your side, would you say?
The best dressed? So it's going to get to the geezer's head now, I'll tell you how much. But it's probably Ben Walker. Probably, yeah.
And now we're going to swap with the worst dressed.
The worst dressed?
Guy who likes to walk around in his flip-flops.
Yeah. That probably goes to Adam. Okay. Adam, yeah. Damsky, yeah. Definitely him.
He just rocks whatever.
Yeah. No, yeah, terribly dressed. Absolutely horrific. Him and Fergus, yeah. Them two, yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the quick fire question. So it's pizza or pasta?
Oh, pizza.
Yeah, I know you like your
Yeah, definitely pizza.
Sunset, sunrise?
Sunset. Yeah, I'd probably be sleeping during sunrise, so sunset. Yeah.
I was gonna say early morning or late afternoon, so it'll be a late afternoon. Okay, nice. And then, what in memory would be your favorite game that you've played, or that you can recall?
There's two that comes to mind. There's the three actually. I lied. So there was a France in the World Cup qualifiers. Was a good flicking day for me, but wow, we ran a lot in that game. And then there was a club game where we played Pembroke. We were down like 4-1 with like 7 to go or something, and then we came back 4-4. I scored a hat trick of flicks in 7 minutes, which was one of my good ones. And then obviously to beat South Africa was it's always a cherry on top. That was probably be the number one spot that game. Yeah.
And then, is there, if for any young listeners, I think this is a very nice one, an important one for our visitors, our viewers, before we close out the interview. But any bit of advice for youngsters growing up, whether it's in South Africa, actually all around the world, in fact, what is a sense of advice you can give youngsters that want to play at the top level? You've done it yourself. You are very young, 21, 22 years old, still learning, but you've got there. What what advice would you give to them?
Yeah, so my biggest one would be is when I was in South Africa, I wasn't rated. I was rated when I was very young, under 13 and 14. I made the Western Province team. Then after that, didn't get a look in ever again. And even when in some teams, maybe if it wasn't the A team, definitely some teams I'd say they should have made. And it's my biggest advice is when you don't make that team, just because you don't make it in a certain setup doesn't mean there's not a setup for you. And it's the same with everything. Of if just because a certain group of coaches and a group of people and a community doesn't see that your style of play is good, there's a style of play for everyone, and different play styles work, and you just need to go and find what works for you, whatever that may be. And yeah, if someone doesn't rate you, show them why they should have, kind of thing.
Yeah, show them why they should have picked you. It will come and haunt some of the selectors, but yeah, I think it's so important. And then, is there like a motivational quote or a quote that you, whether it's your hockey, whether it's your life in general, is there a quote that you live by?
There's not a specific quote, but there's one that always comes back. It's probably pressure is a privilege. Yeah, that's that one. And it's cliche and all that, but it literally is. It's the games where there's pressure on you and all that. They don't come around every week, every month, even a couple of years, where there's big pressure. So yeah, those games, and even in life, whatever it's throwing at you, enjoy it. Enjoy the stressful times, because that gives you the thrill.
Yeah. So, folks, that's sort of our wrap up of our interview with Gregory Williams, superstar of Irish hockey. And yeah, we thank you for being on. Thanks for your time. And yeah, thanks for saying yes. I know you have a busy schedule, and you are playing South Africa tomorrow, folks. So if you are in and around Cape Town, come and join SA versus Ireland. It is almost like a playoff who will go to the semis. So if you're in and around, come and support. I'll be there. Greg will be playing. And that will be at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So come in and come support. And that's all from myself, the host, Reece van Oudtshoorn, and Gregory Williams. And that is us on Boot and Ball. Cheers.